Yeah, you see the catch right here. He makes a move, and then he goes and, oh, that's a face mask.
Should have been.
That is 100% should be a penalty.
Freeze that clip for a minute. Freeze the clip right there. With 3:05 remaining in the third quarter, Auburn was playing the Baylor Bears as wide receiver Ashton Hawkins reeled in a 13-yard catch, nearly escaping into an open space. However, Hawkins, yards after the catch, was cut short when an Auburn linebacker, DeMarcus Reddick, threw him down by his face mask. Besides the Baylor crowd's pleas, no flag was thrown on the play. Only a few moments later, the Fox broadcast brought on rules analyst Mike Piera for his thoughts on the controversial moment. 4 points gone, and nobody in stripes lit the mistake until Tuesday's ghost-written "My Bad" email. Baylor didn't allow the missed call to slow them down on that drive, however. Just a few plays later, Baylor quarterback Sawyer Robertson found Caden Knighton on a 4-yard touchdown pass to cut Auburn's lead. Fortunately for the Bears, their elation didn't last long. By the ensuing kickoff, Auburn's Rashawn Pleasant ran the ball back for 98 yards to extend Auburn's lead back out to 14 points. While Baylor continued to fight back in the game, the Bears ultimately fell to the Tigers 38-24. Baylor's advantage to win the game gone in an instant. Then, last Saturday night, as LSU and Clemson battled, LSU wide receiver Braydyn Brown nearly scored a touchdown to put the Tigers ahead of Clemson with less than 5 minutes left in the third quarter of Saturday's Week 1 opener. Brown was targeted by quarterback Garrett Nussmeier while the Tigers were on the 29-yard line on second down and 11. During the ESPN's broadcast, the team of Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit initially thought the play would result in 6 points. However, the officials later ruled it incomplete, much to the surprise of LSU's sideline fans and ESPN's rule analysts. 2 plays later, Damian Ramos, the kicker, missed a 46-yard field goal, leaving the score tied at 10. LSU failed to capitalize after converting 2 first-down plays and 1 on third down to get inside Clemson's 30-yard line. The Tigers' 8-play, 25-yard drive ended without points. Of course, LSU eventually took the lead and secured the win, but for a moment it looked like this call could have potentially swung the game. But no matter who you cheered for, the damage was done.
Officiating in the Georgia-Texas game was a joke.
Personal foul, horse collar tackle, number 31.
David Smith, the referee.
Horse collar?
Didn't see it.
I'm not selling outrage. We already own it. I'm here to explain why these weekends keep happening, why SEC refs keep getting calls wrong, and are underpaid while doing it. How Auburn and Baylor and LSU and Clemson fit a 10-year trend, and crucially, what we can actually do. Screaming into the void feels great for 10 minutes. Screaming on Twitter feels great for an hour. But after that, we all need to have a plan about how to confront this problem. Let's tally the damage. There was a phantom face mask, no call, 4-point swing. Third quarter, LSU tries to go down the field. Tries to score a touchdown. The ref stares at the tablet long enough to soft boil an egg and upholds the original call. The crowd cheers at Clemson. Touchdown erased. LSU would then kick a field goal on 4th and 11 for 47 yards. The field goal sank to the left. Here's the part most highlight reels skip. The SEC grades its own officials in a black box. No public scores, no performance bonuses, no full-time contracts. Guys making $2,800 to $3,400 a game are expected to keep pace with a sport that prints money faster than the mint. Miss a call? Maybe you get bumped to a directional school undercard. Fans never know because the league won't say. Coaches get fined for criticism, but officials can't even say my fault without the clearance of the NCAA. The Tigers' 8-play, 25-yard drive ended without points. Of course, LSU eventually took the lead and secured the win, but for a moment it looked like this call could have potentially swung the game in Clemson's favor. But as we might or might not know, there are problems that are in this conversation that are needing to be met around college football. The SEC funnels in $808 million to member schools last year, including to new members, Texas and Oklahoma. As a nonprofit entity, the Southeastern Conference is not required to publicly disclose specific budget allocations such as officiating costs. In football, there are 16 teams that play roughly 136 games in a season, with 7 officials per game and an average pay of $3,000 per official for a high-profile conference game. The approximate cost is $2,448,800. That is close to $2.5 million. Bowl game assignments and travel expenses would significantly increase this total. Women's basketball is kind of the same deal, but a lot lower than that. Pay for women's basketball officials has historically been lower than for men's basketball, though some conferences are working towards pay equality. If the average per game rate is $1,500, the estimated season total for women's basketball is $1,152,000. Information is not spread out to the public, but it is clear that when the SEC officiates any game, they can't be held accountable by the public, but only by themselves. The officials receive the value of a walk-up airline ticket to the SEC city where they are officiating the game, plus mileage if they, say, fly to Jacksonville and drive down to Atlanta, Georgia. For example, for a February 14, 2007 game between the Florida Gators and the Vanderbilt Commodores in Gainesville, Florida, the 3 officials for that game were Pat Adams, Doug Shows, and Mike Thibodeau. Adams received a total of $2,342. Shows had $2,464.50, and Thibodeau received $2,262. That's a total of $7,068.50 paid out for officials. Who pays for it? The whole school. Florida in $2,000 to $3,000, and they operate somewhat as an independent contractor. More experienced referees with higher seniority in the SEC earn more, as indicated by the base salary range of $900 to $1,100 for base fees in 2007, according to a Gainesville Sun article written that year. Unlike the $100,000 for entry-level officials in the NFL to over $2,500 for experienced veteran officials in the NFL, is very striking. It is time to release the grades, as every Monday the SEC should drop a single-page gameplay ruling, correct or incorrect. Crew members, no matter the names, just release the grades. Every Monday, drop a single page, game, play, ruler, correct or incorrect, crew number, no names, just jersey numbers. And if a crew averages below 90% accuracy for over 4 weeks, the SEC should not only try to bench these referees for a game, but also hold them accountable. The NFL has done this since 2014, and there's no reason that the SEC can't. But in all fairness, with it being a private contractor and entity, there might not be any time to see SEC refs change soon, no matter if it's football, basketball, or even baseball. These referees should not. What we can do to try and take action as fans is to make the referee face a 5-minute media session after the game, same as the head coach, and ask 2 key questions. Maybe it can be private, maybe it can be public, but that's just what I prefer. But the questions that need to be asked are, we need to see, as the public, some accountability with referees in the SEC. The NBA holds their refs accountable. The NFL holds their refs accountable. But since you're dealing with private contractors, players and coaches can actually own up to their mistakes. And not only can officials do the same thing, officials can do really well for themselves if they were put under fire. But here's the thing. You cannot just email the AD and the assistant AD at your university and write some very hostile message about how the referees duped wrong when Alabama played Georgia. And instead, there should be some transparency between fans, the athletic directors, and the referees. Players and fans should ask, did you formally request the officiating report for the last game? Number 2, will you release it for the fans? And what's the school's stance on full-time officials? Last season, Texas A&M surveyed season ticket holders. 6 weeks later, the SEC debuted its first in-season review replay center briefing. Coincidence, right? Maybe. Football fans could tell you that. What's new is that this business is a billion-dollar business, a billion-dollar league, pretending it can't afford better. Although players are getting paid more thanks to NIL. Auburn and LSU didn't just win games. It felt like the fans had lost the games inside a system that refuses to play by its own rules. We can keep sharing clips and cursing the darkness, or we can demand the same transparency we expect from every other part of the sport. Drop the worst call you saw this weekend in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please make sure to comment down below and subscribe for more.